Hello, my name is Tristin Young. I am a senior studying computer science here at Valencia, and this is TASTE, which is an acronym for Technical Analysis and Strategy Testing Environment. So, a little bit about the project. The project is meant to allow a user to test technical analysis indicators on historical stock data and hopefully develop profitable strategies when trading a specific stock. The way that that works is by gathering, fetching, and storing data upon request, whether that be making an API call or fetching the data from a database, and applying and displaying those indicators in that data for testing purposes. The program also returns the accuracy of the indicators given the current parameters associated with them. As a quick demo, I'll pop over to the web page so we can look at Google on a 5-minute chart. April has been a little wild given all the news, so we will go back to March and let's go take a look at the last couple of weeks in March. We can query the data and we can see here that we have the RSI and the Bollinger Band's accuracy as well as the graph itself, which we can zoom and pan to our heart's content. For instance, if we wanted to look and see what was happening right here on the price action, we could do that and then we could start panning around. Additionally, we have the RSI down here, which same scenario. We can zoom and see what was going on a daily basis as well as pan around. And what's very interesting is that we can update the parameters on the side to then reflect a change. So for instance, if we wanted to change our RSI window from 14 to let's say 25, we see that that RSI value is decreased. So if you were trying to find a good balance, you may not want to use a larger window size for your RSI. Enough about the nitty gritty on the project. Let's get back to a more topical view of everything. So, the languages and tools that we used were entirely Python. Python was the best choice in terms of the language because of its ease of use in many facets and because of its large use of packages. So, some of those packages we used were pandas, which was used to create the data frames and allow me to manipulate the data easily. I used a package named requests, which allowed me to send those API requests to AlphaVantage. AlphaVantage also had their own API, or not API, I apologize. They had their own package that I installed called AlphaVantage. There is a PyGraphQL package that I installed to allow me to save data to a backend database every time that I created and made an API call. Streamlit was used to host the web-based UI that I just showed you, and Plotly was used to make the graphs. The implementation, how did the project kind of change over time? The overall scope has definitely decreased over time. The number of indicators was way too large initially. I was thinking of about a dozen, and I ended up with only two. The visual representation was another large aspect of the project that changed from its original vision. I think I realized that the original vision didn't look aesthetically pleasing or understandable in my own eyes, so I changed that on the fly and went with a more traditional candlestick approach. As the project continued development and the scope became more narrow, I think that I spent more time on ensuring that the end user experience was more pleasant and intuitive, and that it wasn't a difficult program to interact and navigate with. The findings and results. The results were varied based upon the stock and the parameters, I think, as I just displayed. And so I think the important takeaway is that testing indicators itself is now possible, and providing insight on their performance on past data could give some sort of semblance on what may happen to future data. I think that the findings and the results of this project through gathering the data was not to answer one finite question, but rather to enable the end user to play around with the data and answer any question that they may have themselves. Some of the technical challenges that I encountered was particularly the charts. They were difficult to display and to make user friendly, interaction wise. I think that I just displayed how you could zoom and pan on them, but that wasn't very intuitive to myself, and I tried very hard to change that. But that was that was really the best that I could do, and I wish that I had the ability to overcome that technical challenge and provide something more intuitive. Additionally, managing the data requests and checking the local database and fetching data if it was only necessary, that all sounds fairly simple, but in practice, it is very, I would say, cumbersome. And it was very tough to keep track of when you should check for what and where you should check for what while you were in the code. Some successes and disappointments. Um, I achieved the main goal that was set, which was to quantify and assess the usefulness of a technical indicator and to be able to provide some semblance of a score of accuracy. Um, some things that I'm disappointed in was I wish that I had a larger amount of indicators to test and to make available to the user. And additionally, I had some larger plans to automate testing of indicators to find the best values. And I wish that I had more time to implement that. And that's definitely something that I was disappointed in. Project do over. If I were to do things over, I would choose packages which wouldn't I would choose better packages. I guess when I was initially coding this project, I chose packages which wouldn't display the data in the way that I had hoped, and so I spent countless hours wrestling with packages that ended up being replaced with easier, simpler solutions. And so I think just being more picky when choosing which packages to rely on would have helped me in the long run. Additionally, I would focus on doing one thing, and then repeat that. And what I mean by that is during this project, I spread myself pretty thin and I focused on a lot of aspects at one time, which really took away from me being able to focus on one function or one aspect of the UI and make it look its best. And so, if I were to go back, I would definitely time block and focus on one task at a time. The last thing that I would do if I were to do over this project would be to make the data self contained within the project. And so instead of a user having to have the technical know how, like I do, to set up their own database, they could use the project and the tool as I do on my local machine without any setup. Those are the main things that I would do over. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and consideration when you're watching this. This has been my DIY API project, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.